Imagine, if you will, a pursuer on land, an embodiment of swift serpentine death, moving with a velocity that renders human escape a fleeting, desperate hope. Its venom, a complex cocktail of toxins, so potent, so ruthlessly efficient, that the very fabric of your being, your muscles, begin to liquefy, to dissolve, even as you comprehend your fate before gravity claims your collapsing form. Picture then a different horror, a silent invader, a parasite of insidious design, burrowing beneath the sanctuary of your skin. There it thrives, growing, a hidden tenant within your flesh, until, in the profound stillness of the night, you hear it, a faint, horrifying chewing, a sound that emanates from within your own body, a grotesque lullaby of your own consumption. What if an ancient predator, a relic of a bygone era, yet ruthlessly adapted to the present, observed your patterns, memorized your comings and goings with chilling patience? It waits, concealed within the murky, opaque waters, for that one unguarded moment. Then, with terrifying speed, it drags you under into its alien world, drowning you with a slow, deliberate cruelty, spinning your disoriented body in a macabre, inescapable gyre. And beyond these tangible terrors, there exist the invisible assassins, microscopic nightmares that wage war on a cellular level. They slip, unnoticed, into the sanctum of your brain, melting your thoughts, your very consciousness, while you scream, a silent prisoner trapped within a body that no longer answers your command, a mind dissolving into oblivion. This is not the realm of fiction, not the product of a fevered imagination. This, I assure you, is nature's darkest, most unsettling reality, from fungi that orchestrate a grotesque puppetry, turning their hosts into veritable zombies, to birds that have developed a taste for warm blood, from ants whose sting plunges you into an abyss of pain, compelling you to beg for an end, to colossal squid that engage in titanic battles with leviathans in the sunless abyss. Our world teems with horrors that stretch and often surpass the very limits of human comprehension. Do you truly dare to confront this truth, to gaze into this shadowed mirror of life? Or will the comfort of the light be your refuge tonight? Scroll down, if your courage holds. Behold, the Black Mamba! Not merely a snake, but an embodiment of terrestrial velocity and unyielding aggression, it moves across the African savanna not with the languid grace of some serpents, but with a terrifying purpose, capable of speeds approaching 20 kilometers per hour. This is a pace that outstrips the desperate sprint of a human, turning any encounter in open ground into a horrifyingly mismatched race against a creature born of nightmare. Unlike its more retiring kin, which might offer the mercy of retreat, the mamba often stands its ground, a dark sentinel of its territory. Provoked, or perceiving a threat, it does not merely strike once, but delivers a series of lightning-fast attacks, each a potential death sentence, a flurry of venomous precision. The venom itself is a masterpiece of lethal engineering, a potent neurotoxin that wages war upon the nervous system with devastating speed. Within moments of a bite, the victim may experience a cascade of horrifying symptoms. A metallic taste, profuse foaming at the mouth as saliva production spirals out of control, and a creeping paralysis that begins at the site of the bite and spreads inexorably through the body. The diaphragm, the very muscle that allows breath, falters and fails. Suffocation becomes an imminent threat, a terrifying drowning on dry land as the body's vital functions systematically shut down one by one under the venom's relentless assault. What elevates the mamba beyond mere physical threat is the psychological terror it inspires. Victims often remain chillingly conscious, aware of their impending doom, yet unable to move, to speak, to fight against the invisible tide overwhelming them. Their limbs become leaden, their eyelids droop, their breathing grows shallow, yet the mind races, trapped within a failing prison of flesh. This horrifying lucidity in the face of death is a particular cruelty of the mamba's bite. A final, agonizing awareness of life ebbing away, second by terrifying second. The world fades not into a gentle sleep, but into a conscious descent into darkness. In the rich tapestry of African folklore, the black mamba occupies a place of profound dread. It is not just a dangerous animal, it is an omen, a harbinger. Legends whisper that if a mamba fixes its gaze upon you, stares deeply into your eyes, it is not a mere glance of assessment, but a chilling act of marking you for death. Such tales, woven into the cultural fabric over generations, imbue this serpent with an almost supernatural aura, transforming it from a creature of biology into a symbol of inescapable fate, a swift, dark reaper gliding through the sun-drenched grasses. In the brackish estuaries and coastal rivers of Australasia and Southeast Asia lurks an apex predator of formidable antiquity, the saltwater crocodile. This creature is a living testament to survival, a design honed over millions of years, perfectly adapted to its role as a patient, calculating killer. They possess a chilling intelligence capable of observing and memorizing human routines with unnerving accuracy. Fishing spots, boat landings, pathways near the water's edge, all are noted, catalogued by a mind that thinks only of the hunt. For weeks, a large male might lurk, a submerged log to the untrained eye, waiting for that precise moment of vulnerability, that lapse in concentration. The attack, when it comes, is an explosion of primal fury, but the horror does not end with the initial bite. The saltwater crocodile employs a terrifying drowning technique, a brutal ballet of death. It seizes its prey, be it animal or tragically human, in its immensely powerful jaws and drags it into the water. Here, it performs the infamous death roll, spinning its massive body with incredible force. This maneuver serves not only to disorient and incapacitate the victim, but also to break bones and tear flesh, making escape an impossibility. The final moments are spent submerged, lungs bursting, as the crocodile holds its prey beneath the surface until all struggle ceases. There is a gruesome practicality to the crocodile's larder. Often they do not consume their kill immediately. Instead, they will wedge the carcass underwater, perhaps beneath a submerged log or a tangled root system, allowing the flesh to soften and rot. This macabre curing process makes the tearing of large prey easier for their relatively simple peg-like teeth, which are designed for gripping rather than shearing. Rescuers, or those searching for the missing, sometimes discover these underwater caches, a horrifying testament to the crocodile's patient and methodical approach to its meals. Perhaps most disturbing are the accounts, rare but chillingly documented, of victims found with limbs missing yet still alive before being dragged back for a final fatal encounter. This speaks to an almost unimaginable level of terror and suffering. The saltwater crocodile is not merely a hunter. It is a symbol of raw, untamed power, a reminder that in certain parts of our world, humans are not at the apex of the food chain. It is a creature that commands respect, born of a deep primal fear, a living dinosaur in our midst. The orca, often misnomered the killer whale, is not a whale at all, but the ocean's largest dolphin, an animal of extraordinary intelligence and complex social structures. Yet beneath this veneer of sophisticated marine mammal lies a predator of formidable cunning and at times what appears to be a chilling capacity for calculated cruelty. Pods of orcas have been observed engaging in behaviors that transcend mere hunting, verging on what one might describe as sadistic play. Seals and penguins, hapless victims, are sometimes tossed high into the air, battered and passed between individuals like living toys, their terror prolonged before the inevitable fatal strike. Different orca populations exhibit highly specialized hunting techniques, passed down through generations, forming distinct cultural traditions. Some pods, for instance, focus their predatory efforts almost exclusively on sharks, and not just any part of the shark. These orcas have learned to target the liver, a nutrient-rich organ. With astonishing precision, they will incapacitate a large shark, often by flipping it onto its back to induce tonic immobility, a state of temporary paralysis. Then, with almost surgical skill, they extract the liver, leaving the rest of the massive carcass to drift untouched into the depths, a testament to their selective and efficient brutality. The question of orca attacks on humans is fraught and complex. While unprovoked fatal attacks in the wild are virtually unheard of, a disturbing trend has emerged in recent years. Orcas, particularly off the Iberian coast, ramming and damaging sailboats. Some marine biologists speculate this could be a learned behavior, perhaps a form of play, a response to perceived threats, or, more unsettlingly, a manifestation of stress or even a form of revenge for the pressures human activities, including past captivities, have placed upon them. The true motivation remains a subject of intense debate and concern. This capacity for complex, learned behavior, for specialized hunting strategies that almost seem to border on the vindictive, sets the orca apart. It is a creature that plans, communicates, and cooperates with an efficacy that rivals any predator on Earth. To witness their coordinated hunts, the sheer power and intelligence on display is to glimpse an alien mind, one that rules the ocean's depths with a chilling blend of grace and ruthlessness. The orca reminds us that intelligence in nature is not solely a human attribute, and when combined with immense power, it can be a truly terrifying force. Chapter 4: Mosquito, the Whispering Plague. It is perhaps the most universally reviled creature on Earth, a tiny tormentor whose buzzing whine heralds itching misery and all too often deadly disease. The mosquito. These diminutive insects are masters of chemical warfare, exquisitely tuned to hunt humans. From distances of over 30 meters, a female mosquito, the gender that requires a blood meal for her eggs, can detect the plumes of carbon dioxide we exhale with every breath. This CO2 trail acts as a guiding beacon, drawing her inexorably towards her unsuspecting victim, a heat-seeking missile of miniature proportions, armed with a proboscis designed for stealthy penetration. The true terror of the mosquito, however, lies not in its bite, but in its capacity as a vector for some of the world's most devastating diseases: malaria, dengue fever, Zika virus, West Nile virus. The list is a grim litany of human suffering, all transmitted by this seemingly insignificant insect. Some strains of malaria exhibit a particularly insidious evolutionary trick. They can alter the body odor of their human host, making them even more attractive to other mosquitoes. This diabolical manipulation ensures the parasite's continued propagation, turning victims into unwitting beacons for further transmission, accelerating the spread of the disease through a population with horrifying efficiency. Even more bizarrely, the mosquito itself can fall prey to a different kind of microscopic horror. Certain fungi, such as our specialized mosquito parasites, when a spore infects a mosquito, the fungus grows within its body, eventually taking control of its behavior. In its final throes, the infected mosquito is compelled to seek out a body of water. There, in a final gruesome act orchestrated by its fungal overlord, the mosquito lands and its abdomen explodes, releasing a fresh cloud of spores over the water's surface, perfectly positioned to infect new mosquito larvae. A cycle of zombie-like control and explosive death. Thus, the mosquito, so small and ephemeral, represents a colossal threat. It is a creature that has shaped human history, dictating where civilizations could thrive and where they would falter, claiming countless lives through the ages. Its persistence, its adaptability, and its role as a microscopic delivery system for pathogens make it arguably one of the most dangerous animals on the planet, a tiny whispering plague that continues to challenge our ingenuity and our very survival. Its buzz is not just an annoyance, it is a reminder of a constant pervasive threat. Chapter 5: Candiru, the Amazon's Urethral Nightmare. Deep within the labyrinthine waterways of the Amazon rainforest swims a creature so infamous its very name evokes a visceral sense of dread: the candiru. This tiny, translucent catfish, often no thicker than a matchstick, is a parasite, typically preying on a larger fish by lodging itself in their gills and feeding on their blood. However, it is its alleged and horrifying incursions into human orifices, particularly the urethra, that have cemented its place in the annals of biological horror. The stories, though sometimes debated by scientists regarding their frequency, paint a truly nightmarish scenario. Once inside a confined passage, such as the urethra, the candiru's anatomy makes it a formidable and terrifying invader. It possesses backward-facing spines along its gill covers, designed to anchor it securely within the gills of its fish hosts. These same spines, however, mean that if it were to enter a human urethra, any attempt to simply pull it out would be excruciatingly painful, and likely cause further tissue damage as the spines would dig deeper. Removal, in such dire circumstances, almost invariably requires delicate and invasive surgical intervention, a prospect that adds another layer of horror to the encounter. The candiru feeds by engorging itself on blood, and in the process, its slender body can swell dramatically, sometimes to as much as triple its original size. This rapid expansion, were it to occur within the delicate and confined space of the human urinary tract, could lead to blockages, intense pain, severe inflammation, and potentially fatal internal damage or hemorrhage. The thought of such a creature actively feeding and growing within one's own body is a deeply unsettling prospect, a violation of the most personal and vulnerable nature. Local folklore in the Amazon basin is replete with cautionary tales about the candiru. It is said that the fish is attracted to the scent of urine in the water and can, with unnerving accuracy, leap or swim directly from the river into any exposed human orifice, particularly if one urinates while bathing in infested waters. While the mechanics of such a leap are scientifically questioned, the pervasive fear and the gruesome nature of the potential consequences ensure that the candiru remains a potent symbol of the hidden, invasive dangers that lurk within the Amazon's enigmatic waters. Chapter 6: Brain-Eating Amoeba, the Silent Assassin of Warm Waters. In the warm, fresh waters of lakes, rivers, and hot springs, an invisible killer may lurk, more chillingly known as the brain-eating amoeba. This microscopic, single-celled organism is not inherently malicious. It typically feeds on bacteria in the sediment. However, should it be forcefully introduced into the human nasal cavity, often during swimming or diving in contaminated water, it can embark on a journey of terrifying and rapid destruction. This transition from harmless microbe to lethal pathogen is swift and almost invariably fatal. Once inside the nasal passages, the amoeba doesn't meander. It follows a direct and horrifying route, migrating along the olfactory nerves, the very pathways that transmit our sense of smell, straight to the brain. Upon reaching this delicate and vital organ, begins to feed on brain tissue, quite literally liquefying it. This devastating process triggers a condition known as primary amoebic meningoencephalitis, or PAM, an acute and usually fulminant inflammation of the brain and its protective membranes. The onset of symptoms is rapid, often beginning with headache, fever, nausea, and vomiting. As the infection progresses, the destruction within the brain manifests in increasingly terrifying ways. Victims may experience a stiff neck, confusion, a loss of balance, and terrifying hallucinations. One of the more peculiar and disturbing early symptoms reported by some is an altered sense of smell or taste, sometimes described as smelling burning or phantom unpleasant odors, a ghostly signature of the amoeba's assault on the olfactory system. Seizures become common as brain function deteriorates and the patient rapidly slips into a coma, a descent into unconsciousness from which few return. The prognosis for those infected with is overwhelmingly grim. The fatality rate is staggeringly high. In the United States, for instance, only a handful of individuals out of over 150 documented cases since the 1960s have survived. Death typically occurs within a mere 5 to 7 days of symptom onset, sometimes even sooner. The silent, invisible nature of this threat, combined with the sheer speed and devastation of its attack on the human brain, makes the brain-eating amoeba one of nature's most insidious and frightening microscopic killers. Deep within the humid rainforests of Central and South America dwells an insect whose reputation precedes it. A creature that delivers a pain so exquisite, so singularly overwhelming, that it has become legendary, the bullet ant. This formidable ant, one of the largest in the world, is named for the sheer intensity of its sting, which is often likened to the searing agony of being shot. On the Schmidt Pain Index, a scale devised by entomologist Justin Schmidt to categorize insect stings, the bullet ant proudly, or perhaps infamously, occupies the #1 position, a testament to its unparalleled ability to inflict suffering. The description of the pain itself, as chronicled by Schmidt and others who have endured it, is almost poetic in its horror-pure, intense, brilliant pain, like walking over flaming charcoal with a 3-inch nail embedded in your heel. This is not a fleeting discomfort. The agony is relentless, throbbing, and can persist for up to 24 agonizing hours. The venom is a complex cocktail of neurotoxins, primarily ponerotoxin, which targets the victim's nervous system, causing waves of burning, stabbing pain that ripple through the affected limb and beyond, leaving the sufferer incapacitated and often writhing in misery. Beyond the localized torment, the venom of the bullet ant can induce a range of systemic neurological effects. Uncontrollable shaking and tremors are common as the neurotoxins disrupt normal nerve function. Fever can set in, accompanied by cold sweats and nausea. In some cases, temporary paralysis of the affected limb can occur, adding a terrifying helplessness to the already unbearable pain. The psychological impact of enduring such prolonged and intense suffering is profound, leaving an indelible mark on anyone unfortunate enough to experience the bullet ant's wrath. This extraordinary capacity for inflicting pain has not gone unnoticed by human cultures. Among the Satera Mauve people of the Brazilian Amazon, the bullet ant plays a central role in an incredibly arduous warrior initiation rite. Young men seeking to prove their manhood and resilience must thrust their hands into woven gloves teeming with hundreds of live, agitated bullet ants. They must endure this excruciating ordeal for 10 minutes at a time, repeating the ritual up to 20 times over several months. It is a brutal testament to human endurance and a stark reminder of the sheer unadulterated power contained within this remarkable and terrifying insect. In the shallow, sun-dappled coastal waters of the Indo-Pacific, a master of disguise lies in wait, perfectly blending with its rocky, coral-strewn surroundings, the stonefish. This creature is a triumph of evolutionary camouflage, its mottled, warty skin making it virtually indistinguishable from an ordinary, algae-encrusted rock or piece of coral. Unsuspecting swimmers, waders, or divers often make the fatal mistake of treading upon it, believing it to be a harmless part of the seabed. It is this unparalleled ability to remain unseen that makes the stonefish one of the most dangerous venomous fish in the world. The danger lies not in its bite, but in the array of 13 stout, needle-sharp spines that line its dorsal fin. When pressure is applied, as when stepped upon, the skin covering these spines retracts, and each spine acts like a hypodermic needle, injecting a potent neurotoxin deep into the victim's flesh. The venom is a complex cocktail of proteins that causes excruciating pain almost instantaneously, a pain so severe it has been described as beyond comprehension, often leading to delirium or unconsciousness. The venom also attacks the cardiovascular and nervous systems, potentially leading to heart failure, paralysis, and widespread tissue necrosis if not treated promptly. Even for those who receive antivenom and survive the initial onslaught, the agony of a stonefish envenomation can be a protracted ordeal. Victims frequently report debilitating pain lasting for days, weeks, or even months after the incident. The tissue damage at the site of the sting can be extensive, leading to significant swelling, blistering, and in severe cases, the death of surrounding flesh. Amputation of the affected limb, though rare, is sometimes necessary to prevent the spread of necrosis or life-threatening infection, a grim reminder of the venom's destructive power. The stonefish's mastery of camouflage is its greatest weapon. It does not actively hunt humans, rather, its danger stems from accidental encounters. It lies patiently, often partially buried in sand or mud, waiting for small fish or crustaceans to venture too close. Its defensive mechanism is purely reactive, a devastating consequence for any creature, human or otherwise, unfortunate enough to disturb its stony repose. This silent, hidden threat, lurking just beneath the warm, inviting waters, serves as a stark reminder that even the most idyllic environments can harbor lethal secrets. The life cycle of the human botfly is a masterpiece of insidious parasitism, a tale that unfolds beneath the skin of its unwilling host, often with horrifying awareness. The adult female botfly does not lay her eggs directly onto a human. Instead, she employs a remarkable and rather sinister strategy. She captures a blood-feeding arthropod, typically a mosquito or a tick, in midair. With astonishing precision, she glues her eggs, sometimes dozens of them, onto the abdomen of this intermediary carrier, which then unwittingly becomes her agent of infestation. When the carrier mosquito or tick eventually lands on a warm-blooded host, such as a human, to take a blood meal, the warmth of the host's skin triggers the botfly eggs to hatch almost instantaneously. The tiny larvae, sensing their opportunity, quickly drop from the carrier and burrow headfirst into the host's skin, often through the bite wound left by the mosquito or tick, or sometimes through a hair follicle. This initial invasion is usually painless, a stealthy infiltration that goes unnoticed until the larva begins to grow. Once beneath the skin, the botfly larva establishes a small subcutaneous chamber, a warble, where it will live and feed for the next 5 to 12 weeks, depending on the species and conditions. It creates a small breathing hole or pore at the surface of the skin, through which it obtains oxygen and sometimes expels waste. Victims often report a deeply unsettling array of sensations, a persistent itching, sharp, stabbing pains as the larva moves or feeds, and most disturbingly, the distinct feeling of something moving beneath their flesh. Some can even hear faint chewing or rasping sounds, or see the larva's breathing tube rhythmically poking from the lesion. The removal of a botfly larva is a delicate process. If the larva is ruptured or damaged during extraction, its bodily fluids can spill into the wound, potentially causing a severe inflammatory reaction or secondary infection. Traditional methods sometimes involve covering the breathing hole with petroleum jelly or bacon fat to cut off the larva's air supply, theoretically forcing it to emerge. However, careful surgical extraction by a medical professional is typically recommended to ensure the entire larva is removed intact. The psychological impact of hosting such a parasite, of feeling it live and grow within one's own body, is a uniquely horrifying experience. From the crushing, lightless depths of the world's oceans emerges a creature of myth and legend, a true Leviathan whose existence was long debated, the giant squid. These enigmatic cephalopods are among the largest invertebrates on Earth, with some estimates suggesting lengths of up to 13 meters for females, including their 2 elongated feeding tentacles. For centuries, tales of monstrous krakens and tentacled beasts attacking ships were dismissed as sailors' yarns, but the discovery of carcasses washed ashore and, more recently, fleeting glimpses in their deep-sea domain have confirmed their reality. The primary evidence of the giant squid's formidable nature often comes from its titanic battles with its only known natural predator, the sperm whale. Sperm whales frequently bear scars, circular wounds sometimes the size of dinner plates, etched into their skin by the suckers of giant squid. These scars are testament to ferocious struggles waged in the abyssal darkness, hundreds or even thousands of meters below the surface. The suckers lining the squid's 8 arms and 2 longer tentacles are not merely passive gripping tools. They are often rimmed with sharp serrated rings of chitin, like tiny teeth, capable of inflicting deep, gouging wounds. Despite their immense size and fearsome reputation, direct encounters with live giant squid are exceptionally rare. The first filming of a live adult in its natural habitat did not occur until 2004, a breakthrough that offered a tantalizing, albeit brief, window into their mysterious world. It's speculated that some reported attacks on submersibles or deep-sea equipment may not be acts of aggression, but rather manifestations of curiosity or territorial defense from a creature unaccustomed to intrusion in its Stygian realm. The intelligence of these animals is largely unknown, but their complex eyes, the largest in the animal kingdom, suggest a sophisticated sensory perception of their dark world. The sheer scale of the giant squid, coupled with the alien environment it inhabits, fuels a deep-seated, primal fascination and fear. Imagine the crushing pressure, the absolute darkness, and then the sudden appearance of enormous unblinking eyes and a writhing mass of powerful, sucker-lined tentacles. Even a glancing blow from such a creature with its tooth-ringed suckers could leave devastating injuries. The giant squid remains one of the ocean's greatest enigmas, a true monster of the deep, whose life and battles are largely hidden from our view, existing more in the realm of awe-inspiring conjecture than complete scientific understanding. In the nocturnal forests of Madagascar, a creature emerges that seems crafted from the very essence of unsettling folklore, the eye. This unique primate, a species of lemur, possesses an array of bizarre physical characteristics that have tragically led to its persecution. Its large, luminous eyes, perfectly adapted for navigating the pitch-black undergrowth, can appear to glow with an eerie intensity when caught in a beam of light. Coupled with its prominent bat-like ears and a gaunt, almost spectral appearance, the eye looks less like a gentle primate and more like a mischievous gremlin, or a creature summoned from a darker realm. The most distinctive and for many most disturbing feature of the eye is its extraordinary middle finger. This finger is incredibly long, slender and skeletal, starkly different from its other digits. The eye uses this specialized tool for percussive foraging. It taps rapidly on tree bark, its sensitive ears listening for the hollow sounds that betray the presence of insect grub tunnels hidden within. It is an eerie, rhythmic knocking in the dead of night, like a demonic woodpecker sounding out its prey. This peculiar behavior, while a marvel of evolutionary adaptation, contributes significantly to its unsettling reputation among local communities. Once a grub is located, the eye employs another of its specialized adaptations. It gnaws a hole into the wood with its strong, rodent-like incisors, which grow continuously. Then, that elongated, skeletal middle finger comes into play once more, now as a delicate probe and hook. The eye inserts it into the tunnel, impaling the unfortunate grub with a sharp claw at the finger's tip and deftly extracting its meal. This entire feeding process, while efficient, has a macabre quality, enhancing the creature's otherworldly image. Tragically, these unique adaptations have fueled deeply ingrained superstitions in some Malagasy communities. It is believed by some that if an eye points its long skeletal middle finger at a person, it is a curse, an omen of misfortune or even death for that individual or their village. This belief has led to the eye being actively hunted and killed on sight in certain areas, despite its harmless nature towards humans. It is a sad irony that a creature so perfectly, if unusually, adapted to its environment should become a victim of human fear and misunderstanding, a nocturnal stalker more persecuted than persecuting. On the remote and isolated Wolf and Darwin Islands of the Galapagos archipelago, a peculiar and rather unsettling evolutionary path has been taken by a small bird, the Vampire Finch. This subspecies of the sharp-beaked ground finch has developed a dietary habit that lives up to its chilling name. It feeds on the blood of larger seabirds, particularly Nazca and blue-footed boobies. This is not a gentle sip. The finch uses its sharp beak to peck at the base of the boobie's wing feathers, creating small wounds from which it then laps up the oozing blood. This macabre feeding behavior is thought to have evolved from an earlier habit of picking parasites from the skin and feathers of the larger birds. Perhaps through accidental pecking or by targeting blood-engorged ticks, these finches discovered a rich and readily available source of protein and moisture in an otherwise harsh and resource-scarce environment. What began as a cleaning symbiosis, or perhaps opportunistic scavenging, has twisted into a form of direct, non-fatal parasitism, a miniature Dracula flitting amongst the seabird colonies seeking its crimson sustenance. Intriguingly, the boobies often exhibit a surprising lack of resistance to these blood-drinking attacks. While they may occasionally peck back or shuffle away, they generally tolerate the finch's attentions. This passivity might be due to the long history of parasite-picking behavior, with the boobies not yet having evolved a strong defensive response to this newer, more vampiric iteration. The finches, for their part, are persistent, sometimes queuing up for their turn to feed from a particularly productive wound on a single boobie, a grim procession of tiny bloodletters. Even more fascinating and somewhat disturbing is the observation that this blood-feeding behavior appears to be, at least in part, a learned trait. Young vampire finches may observe and imitate the adults, acquiring this unique and gruesome foraging technique. This suggests a form of cultural transmission within the finch population, a dark tradition passed down through generations. Some finches have even been seen opportunistically reopening old wounds, rather than expending the energy to create new ones, showcasing a chilling efficiency in their quest for blood. The vampire finch stands as a stark example of how extreme environmental pressures can drive evolution down unexpected and rather sinister pathways. In the humid undergrowth of tropical forests, a silent, insidious puppeteer conducts a macabre orchestra of death. The fungus, more commonly known as the Zombie-Ant Fungus. This parasitic organism targets specific species of carpenter ants, initiating a horrifying sequence of events that culminates in the ant's demise and the fungus's propagation. When a microscopic fungal spore lands on an unsuspecting ant, it germinates, penetrates the ant's exoskeleton, and begins to proliferate within its body, a slow, creeping invasion. The true horror lies in its remarkable ability to manipulate its host's behavior with chilling precision. As the fungal cells spread, they release a cocktail of chemicals that hijack the ant's central nervous system. The infected ant, now a mere automaton under fungal control, abandons its colony and its normal foraging routines. It begins to exhibit erratic behavior, including convulsions that cause it to fall from the canopy to the lower, more humid forest floor, an environment ideal for fungal growth. This is not random wandering. It is a directed, albeit unwilling, pilgrimage. The fungus then compels the ant to perform a final, specific act. It directs the zombie ant to climb the stem of a plant to a very particular height, often around 25 centimeters above the ground, where the temperature and humidity are optimal for the fungus to sporulate. Once this precise location is reached, the fungus induces the ant to clamp its mandibles firmly onto the underside of a leaf vein, a death grip from which it will never release. Here, immobilized and perfectly positioned, the ant awaits its final gruesome end. With the ant anchored in place, the fungus consumes its internal tissues, eventually erupting from the back of the ant's head with a fruiting body, a stalk-like structure. This structure then releases a shower of fresh spores downwards onto the forest floor below, where they can infect other foraging ants, thus perpetuating the ghastly cycle. While this particular fungus cannot infect humans, the sheer precision of its mind control, turning a living creature into a fungal dispersal vehicle, is a profound and deeply unsettling example of nature's capacity for intricate, almost alien manipulation. The quiet horror of an ant's head exploding with fungal spores is a chilling spectacle. Lurking within the cells of perhaps a third of the global human population is a single-celled parasite with a remarkably complex life cycle and a subtle, yet potentially profound influence on its hosts. This microscopic protozoan primarily completes its sexual reproductive cycle within cats, which excrete oocysts, a hardy infectious form of the parasite, in their feces. Other mammals, including rodents and humans, can become intermediate hosts if they ingest these oocysts, typically through contact with contaminated soil, water, or, most commonly for humans, by consuming undercooked meat from infected animals. The truly fascinating and somewhat unsettling aspect is its apparent ability to manipulate the behavior of its intermediate hosts, particularly rodents. Infected rats and mice, for example, seem to lose their innate fear of cats. In fact, some studies suggest they may even develop a fatal attraction to feline urine, making them more likely to be caught and eaten by a cat. This diabolical manipulation, of course, perfectly serves the parasite's agenda, increasing its chances of reaching its definitive feline host, where it can reproduce sexually. The question of how and to what extent might alter human behavior is a subject of ongoing research and considerable debate. Some studies have suggested correlations between latent toxoplasmosis infection in humans and subtle personality changes, such as increased risk-taking behavior, slower reaction times, and even a higher likelihood of being involved in traffic accidents. There are also tentative, though complex, links being explored with certain neurological and psychiatric conditions, including schizophrenia and depression. The parasite forms cysts in brain tissue, and while often dormant, their presence may exert a quiet, long-term influence. The sheer prevalence with estimates suggesting up to 50% of the human population in some regions may carry it, makes these potential behavioral modifications a significant, if often overlooked, public health consideration. While most infected humans with healthy immune systems experience few, if any, acute symptoms, the thought that a microscopic organism acquired perhaps from a beloved pet cat or a rare steak could be subtly altering our perceptions, our reactions, and even our personalities, is a profoundly disquieting notion. It challenges our sense of autonomy, suggesting we may be subject to invisible puppet masters on a microbial scale. Within the unassuming world of crickets, grasshoppers, and other terrestrial insects, a truly bizarre and horrifying drama unfolds, orchestrated by a parasite known as the horsehair worm. These extraordinarily long, slender worms, belonging to the phylum Nemetomorpha, lead a dual life. Their larval stages are parasitic, developing within the body cavities of unsuspecting arthropod hosts. The adult worms, however, are free-living and aquatic, requiring water to reproduce. This fundamental difference in habitat necessitates a remarkable and sinister manipulation of their host. When a horsehair worm larva is ingested by a suitable insect host, perhaps by the insect drinking contaminated water or eating a smaller infected insect, it begins to grow, absorbing nutrients directly from the host's body. It can reach astonishing lengths, often many times the length of the host itself, coiling and filling much of the insect's internal cavity. As the worm matures and prepares for its aquatic adult life, it employs a sophisticated form of chemical warfare to hijack its host's brain. The mature horsehair worm produces specific proteins that directly affect the host's central nervous system, overriding its natural instincts and behaviors. The infected insect, now a mere puppet controlled by its internal parasite, develops an irresistible and uncharacteristic compulsion to seek out water. This water-seeking behavior is often frantic and disoriented, leading the cricket or grasshopper on a desperate suicidal journey towards the nearest pond, stream, or even a puddle. The insect, which would normally avoid such environments, is driven by an alien will. Once the host reaches water and often throws itself in, the mature horsehair worm makes its dramatic escape, slowly and eerily uncoiling itself from the now doomed insect's body to begin its free-living reproductive phase. The host, its purpose served, is typically left to drown or succumb to exhaustion. While an unverified report from Japan alleges a man coughing up a 4-foot horsehair worm, these parasites are primarily known for their insect manipulations. The sight of a long, dark worm emerging from a seemingly normal insect is a profoundly unsettling spectacle, a testament to the extreme lengths to which parasites will go to complete their life cycles, turning their hosts into unwitting vehicles for their own propagation, even to the point of self-destruction. Our journey through nature's gallery of horrors has revealed creatures that challenge our understanding of life and survival, each terrifying in its own unique and chilling way. If we were to award superlatives in this grim contest, the title of most brutal killer would undoubtedly go to the saltwater crocodile, a patient and ancient predator that quite literally eats its victims alive after a terrifying drowning. For sheer unadulterated agony, the bullet ant stands supreme, its sting delivering 24 hours of torment that can make one beg for oblivion. The crown for most psychological horror must surely rest with the fungus, which transforms its ant host into a mindless zombie, a puppet serving a fungal master. And for the title of most disgusting, the Botfly, with its larvae living and chewing beneath your skin, is a truly visceral contender. These organisms, from the lightning-fast Black Mamba to the mind-altering, remind us that the natural world is not always a realm of gentle beauty. It is also a theatre of relentless competition, of ingenious and often brutal adaptations for survival. The fear these creatures inspire is, in itself, an evolutionary adaptation, a primal instinct that has helped our own species navigate a perilous world. The question lingers. Would you rather face the certainty of a swarm of bullet ants, knowing the agony that awaits, or be hunted by the relentless speed and lethal venom of a Black Mamba where escape is but a fleeting hope? The tapestry of life is woven with threads of wonder and threads of terror, often intertwined. The more we explore, the more we realize the sheer, almost alien diversity of strategies that life employs. If this exploration into the surreal and the spine-chilling has captivated your curiosity, do consider liking this chronicle, sharing it with fellow adventurers into the unknown, and subscribing for more journeys into the profound mysteries our planet holds. Until our next exploration, may your nights be peaceful and your encounters with nature